let's launch this
Hmm.
bad boy. Let's see what happens. Let me gallery view us.
Welcome,
We
Facebook
freaking-
Live. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I think we're live.
Yes, we are.
Let me go share this. Let me move my screen around so that we're here and people love this. This is, I think, is everybody's favorite part, like this awkward first 30 seconds.
Hmm.
Because there's no script here and definite.
It's what we drop into flow state is what we normally are when we're with each other. We have to drop into that state before we forget about the 10,000 people watching.
The 10,000 people, bro. It's been a while. It's been like 6 weeks since we
we missed Super
caught up.
Monday. We missed Super Monday because I was on the playa having my own Super Monday.
Right. And that was the thing, because I remember that passing, and I remember it being like 2:30 in the afternoon. I was like, you know what? I don't think Dustin's back. Just like energetically didn't feel it. And I think that I did a Facebook Live in my group that day instead. I don't remember, but whatever it was, the energy was just right. And then I've got people booked on Mondays for like the next 6 weeks. And so you were the perfect thing. So I'm really stoked about this. I'm really stoked. It's like Dustin and I were just talking about the evolution of this Monday night conversation and how it began. I think my computer is locked out. Here we go.
I was just talking about that on the phone before we got on the phone, because I was explaining to someone what I was going to go do. Someone that's rather new in my life, has no idea about these calls. And it was fun to take that time to go back in time and take that time to go back in time.
Yeah.
You remember?
It's been like a year. This is like a year.
We went on a long stretch. We took some breaks, and then we started having another pattern. But I mean, from an interpersonal, like for me developing here, I got a lot out of these calls, man. Like,
dude, I get so much out of these calls. This is like one of my favorite things. And I think the biggest thing that's the most valuable to me, and so just to catch everybody up as we're having this conversation in real life, like Dustin was saying, we started doing this about a year ago. We were having these conversations on the phone where we would just talk about whatever was coming up for us. We'd be like, bro, I just think this thing in the text message, we got to talk about this. And we'd hop on the phone. And then one day we just had this idea to do it live. And so then like Dustin said, we probably went 3-4 months in a row. We did it every week, picking different locations.
Dude, we were,
yeah, it was like a gauntlet, and we were really going for it.
It was cool.
And then we started inviting people on like around Christmas time, the New Year's.
That was
and
fun.
then that was fun. It was good for a time.
It was the interesting part about that is it brought up a lot of interesting things for me, because there were certain people who added a lot to the conversation, and then there were other people that I felt took so much from the
it was really interesting.
By them, or what's happening here?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's $1 million question, right?
Fuck yeah, it is.
That's $1 million question.
Always, with everything.
Yeah,
that's
$1 million question.
Is this my heart? What's going on?
Yeah, is this my ego or is this my heart? And can it be both? You know, for sure. And I was just having this conversation with somebody else about like being triggered. Am I triggering you, or are you triggered by me? To be like, man, because it can be different and not at the same time. So the evolution now for me, as far as this being my thing, like first Wakeups is my business, this is my coaching business. And the flagship of that is a one-on-one coaching I do in this very same space. And a couple of weeks ago, I started masterminding here with some local colleagues here in Honolulu. And it was like, okay, well, what does Ryan want to do? What does he need to evolve? And it's just time for me to scale, honestly, because it's just at that point where it's like, okay, if I need to get bigger to get bigger. And I know that may sound ridiculous. That's just true, though. So it's so one of the things is like,
it wasn't ridiculous.
It
wouldn't be true.
I know, right? And it's if it wasn't true, it wouldn't be funny. So
worth it. That's for sure.
One of the things I was like, well, I have all these different projects, and none of them are really connected. They are, but it's not things. So I went through and really tightened everything up, and I wanted everything. I found some places in my life, i.e. the podcast that Amber and I were recording, and I highlight the were. And it was the one thing that we were struggling to find motivation to show up and do on a weekly basis. And so then I was like asking myself, okay, well, what's the problem? How come we're just showing up whenever to just shoot the shit? And I was like, because there's no intention behind it. So I went through and just took a look at all of my, Samuel Noel says, is this my ego or is this my heart? Holy shit, can't believe I never thought of that. Dude, for reals, 100%. Like
the cool thing about that question is when it's your heart and you're honest with yourself and you drop into that heart space, your ego automatically ascends up with your heart. So your
Mm-hmm.
ego moves up a level, and now you have this totally new ego that you have to get to know all over again. But it's wiser and sees the world differently, and it will change your
Yeah.
life.
Mm-hmm. It will.
That heart, just
Yeah.
drop that heart. It's super easy.
I think there's a lot of talk about the ego too and how it's all bad.
No, it's wonderful.
It's not. It's really wonderful, and it's what's keeping you alive. So yeah.
The indicator light on the dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
We have a dashboard. There's mind. It's all the indicator lights. The ego is
fantastic.
All of those things turning on, and that's all they are, is indicators of certain things. They mean pay attention, not you're weak or that you're bad or right or wrong. Just pay attention to this thing. It's important. It's an indicator.
Yeah, it means it's been 87. Yeah, it's been 87,000 miles since your cabin air filter's been changed, which is such a minor thing. Well, it's like, it can really fuck you up really bad.
Have you sat alone for 30 minutes with your own thoughts without looking at anything?
Mm.
Maybe that's why you're feeling this way. And then
maybe
you do that, and then the indicator light turns off.
Yeah,
it's called self-care.
Heck yeah. So the evolution of this anyways, so I was thinking about the different things in the podcast on this, and specifically this Monday night thing came up, and I was like, no, I was like, do I want to stop doing that? Is there an intention there? And I was like, yeah, there is an intention. The intention is to intentionally be unscripted. And that was just it. First Wakeups Unscripted. It was that easy.
I love it.
And
when all this happened, because it seems like an LSD realization where your brain just went boonk.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what it was? It was that I gave other people the opportunity to hold space for me. Or if I say that in a different way, I allowed myself space to be held by other people, and so it was just, that's what it was. It was allowing me to say, they're like, hey, what do you need? I was like, well, this is where I'm having struggles. And they're like, what about drawing a straight line through everything? And I was like, oh, it's like, it's so interesting, valuable. But yeah.
Well, I think it's great. I think obviously I'm fully supportive of the transition. Although I think it's really, really, it's the point. Remember when we first started doing this, I said, I don't know what this is for or why we're doing it, but I feel like it's going to turn into something really important. I think we found that something, and what ultimately we created was a platform for you as an individual, because now you know how to do it because you've done it with me so many times, where you could get into this space on a screen, drop into a real space with someone where you're in your real space and you're also inviting them to drop into their real space, and then you get to do it where other people get to see. And you talk about scaling. Well, let's drop in and get real on camera and record that shit for free.
Heck yeah.
Like that's scalable. That's for free. Yeah, man. There's people making millions of dollars on YouTube doing way stupider shit than that.
Yeah.
I like it.
100% true. I like it too.
Because you don't know what you're gonna do. It might be coaching. It might be fucking some really nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Holy shit! It could be anything.
Yeah. I have no idea what this is. I like it. That's what I like about it. And it's like, the coolest part is it's like, artistically, this is a really cool place for me to be like, oh, head or the ego or heart. I never thought about it from that context. And then now I got like tons of stuff to go write about, and just to kind of stick into that myself.
Data mine, bro.
Yeah, man. I want to talk about this Project Extrovert though. Go ahead and get me up to speed on what's going on there.
Yeah. So I'll do the 30,000 foot view of the stuff that you already know, just so there's like a little bit of a recap. So I've been training with discomfort for a while, and my relationship with discomfort has shifted into a very, very neutral space, kind of like the indicator light, where it's not good, it's not bad, it's very neutral. Discomfort is just discomfort. And in such, it's taken me into some pretty interesting directions. It's taken me up some pretty tall mountains. It's taken me into some pretty impressive boardrooms. It's taken me interesting places, not being so afraid of discomfort. However, there was one place that it always prevented me from going into, and that was anything extroverted. And so what I started to learn about myself is I'm a deep introvert, and I've shared this with you before, Ryan. However, all of the decisions or all of the solutions that I formulate to solve a problem are always internal. They're always all me. It's me figuring out something to do with me, or a tool that I buy or make or build or whatever. It's always me. And so moving into this other version of introversion, I always also need to recharge alone. So I'll go out and I'll connect with a bunch of people and I'll have a bunch of fun. I'll come home and I'll be alone for a few moments, or maybe not yet, but I'll have a recoil back from that space where I recoil into this like, holy fuck, I need to be away from all of these people and I need to be alone. I need to recharge. And it usually was a days, maybe weeks thing that this was really important for me. And it's been this way my whole life. So champion introvert. What I started to realize though, was that it might be interesting to treat my introversion like a comfort zone and to see it as something as simple as a set of beliefs that aren't really real. See it as simply just a set of beliefs, just like any other beliefs, and to approach it like a comfort zone. Like sometimes I would thrust into it fully, sometimes I would bounce on the edges. And so one of the things that I would do is I would look outside of myself for a solution. So I'd have a problem in front of me, and then solution 1, 2, and 3 are always Dustin. And then I'd have to go to solution 4, which would always involve another person. So I started to do this. This was my jump in. This was my getting my feet wet. So I started to use it as a problem solving tool. And you started doing it at work, where I just started giving a lot of responsibilities away that could have been done by other people. So it was amazing to do at work. And it was fun to do it in the sense that I was making my life a lot easier because I was leveraging people around me to achieve things. And it was a lot easier to get things done. But over time, I started to build what I think at least was happening was this set of neurons that were extroverted neurons. And so the more that I started to practice this game of discomfort, the more comfortable it got and the more fun I started to have. And what I noticed, one of the more interesting like visceral experiences I had recently was I was getting ready to go to Burning Man, and I was at a U-Haul place, and had been doing so many tasks that day, and I was in a hurry. I had driven quite far in traffic to pick up this thing from U-Haul, and I'm walking into U-Haul, and this guy who's sitting outside waiting for who knows what makes a comment on my FJ Cruiser, and I could feel myself moving towards the door, really wanting to continue to walk inside. And I made a physical stance and chose not to, and I actually turned my body directly at him square, and I had an actual conversation with him. And 45 seconds later, I walked away feeling smart, feeling clever, feeling funny, and I felt really, really recharged more than anything. I felt like I had way more energy than when I walked up to that door. Like, okay, interesting. And so part of this Project Extrovert, this exploration, this experiment, I had this culminating idea that all I was actually doing, I think I shared this with you directly, Ryan, all I was actually doing was doing research, because I had a plan at Burning Man 2019, was metamorphosis was the theme this year. I had a plan at Burning Man to fully explore what it meant to be extroverted. And I had all these ideas of how it might look, and it didn't look anything like I had fucking imagined. I didn't do any of the crazy things that I thought I would do, although I did a lot of interesting things that were very, would have been foreseeably impossible, not possible rather. And what I ultimately learned is that I'm both introverted and extroverted, and that in accepting both and realizing that I can recharge in both, I'm now acutely aware of energy in my own body. So how this was showing up at Burning Man, I went, so last year, to put some context, last year when I went to Burning Man, I taught 6 workshops and I brought an installation, a cold shower installation, and I built that the week before. And that was, I don't want to say that's all I did because it was a lot. And I came home totally energetically depleted. I was like a blown out candle, man.
I remember that vividly.
Yeah.
Me and you, we dropped off. We didn't talk for like a couple months after that.
It was tough, dude. I came onto the show. I was very disassociative, and it was very interesting. Very cool time for me, though. Very reflective and introverted, introspective time. Anyways, Burning Man 2019, I like, if that was a candle, I was a nuclear bomb this year, man. Like, I fucking blew up. Like, I went so hard with what I taught, with the people that I connected with the amount of energy that I gave out, the amount of energy that I grounded out for other people. I went super hard, and I stayed longer. I came home later, and when I came home, dude, I felt like I had been plugged in and recharging the entire time. I felt more full of energy than I ever had. Not only did I feel more full, I felt like my capacitor for energy, my battery capacitor, internal capacitor, was so much larger. Which is all I'm really going to say about the introverted extroverted experiment. However, energy management is one of the most important things we as humans have and we can use. And when you can push yourself to redline and then go take 15 minutes to recharge and then get back out there and do it again, learning that, an incredible amount of liberty that I am so grateful for. And I got there by taking baby steps into my discomfort zone.
But exponentially, that chart like ramped. Like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
because the neurons.
And I think
every time.
It's really fascinating because to me, I don't care what it is. I think if there's anything you want to become better at, and I do believe that you can become better at being introverted or extroverted, you can. It's no different than a golf swing or swinging a tennis racket or whatever other benign example you want to use in that place. You know, do a plie. You know, and so it's I think that's really important and that's really cool because I know for me, when you and I think we've had this conversation before, but I think it's valuable to share again that when you and I first met, if I was to take a freaking extroverted versus introverted test, it would have pegged extroverted. And I know that since then, in the last 4.5 years since we've known each other and we've been doing this work and having these conversations, that for me, extroversion, introversion, I think now even more so. Let me tell the first thing I'd noticed. Like if we're using Myers-Briggs as a container to talk about this as, I was very hard ENFP, which is like a promoter. And then I would shift to ENTP, which is a debater, depending on whom I was having conversation with and what the context of the conversation was, or perhaps even where my fight or flight was, right?
Exactly who you were when I met you. Like exactly
100%.
Like if you had a baseball card, that's what it would have said on the back. Like,
yeah, it would have said. But the thing that I've noticed much more is that after certain times of the day, or the more I practice giving myself space to be more internally thinking, because I'll walk around my house like talking to myself, externally processing. My wife and kids will be like, hey daddy, what are you saying? Oh, nothing. I'm just talking to myself because I'm an external processor, or at least that's my story, right? But I find myself more often, the more I practice giving myself space, even though I can hear my family working in the kitchen 30 feet away from me, while I'm in here by myself, like being that more quiet and shutting my laptop screen a little bit and allowing myself to be more introverted in order to feel to like, it's like the opposite journey, like, right, we're trying to travel past each other and on that thing. And so that's something. And especially like once the girls go to sleep, like around 7:30, 7:30 at night, I shift hard into introvert. And my wife and I have to schedule the time that we're going to spend together, because by the time I'm doing this and processing with other people and having conversation and holding space or whatever it is, or writing or receiving feedback, etc., it's like I really need some time alone. And I've found much more value in that. And I think just the way that you were saying, like you can go redline, and if you only have one way that you know to recharge, like a Tesla parking battery station, right? When you pull into fucking Whole Foods. But if there's a car there parked already, what do? You know, so it's super valuable to be able, just like Dustin is sharing, to be able to find those new ways to really experiment with that. And, you know, because the extroversion, introversion, I think the most important part to discuss about it, it's just what's your plug look like? Are there people around or are there not? And it's, I think, at the basis of that, like that's the most simple way to describe it. Like that's what it is. It's literally, it's not, am I able to be around people? It's not, are you able to be around people? It's how do you recharge? And that's the most important thing that I noticed. And to be able to experiment and to install different style adapters to let that do is very powerful work. So congratulations, brother.
And so that bring up an interesting point. So there are handfuls of people who I can drop into a space with, where it's in this sort of space, and I can create a vibration with them that is recharging. So this is with one-on-one, though. I can do this where I get deep, and that other person, we do this with each other. We would recharge each other on the phone all the time.
Absolutely.
So there's a nuance there, though, that I didn't have before. Now I can take a room full of people and I can recharge with them. So in the context of my workshop. So I had a workshop this Saturday. Progressively, I've gotten better and better at this, but it's always been a problem with the workshops afterwards. Like I'm literally like spun out after the workshops. Like I could be chewing on the wall. Like it'd be funny for you to see me a while ago, but what it looked like, because I'm just like, it's crazy. I have to just go like hide out and smoke a bunch of weed and play video games. Like it's seriously weird. Or clean the whole house maybe. However, this last workshop, I felt absolutely, completely, totally normal. And I crushed it. I was able to drop in and out of heart space and drop in and out of it without any sort of recoil at any kind, without any kind of emotional recoil. And like to be in that super deep space where these workshops, you haven't come to one of my workshops, but you will one day, and you'll see.
I will, absolutely.
You'll understand. You'll be like, whoa, he's doing this? Holy shit. Because it is pretty, it's especially on the playa, man, when there's 150 people there.
No, I saw the pictures, but I guess it doesn't do it justice. Not even sort of.
Dude, I feel like
Kara and I are going next year.
And I love it, dude. Come camp with me, please. You can be part of my yogi group. You can have have a workshop of any kind if you come camp with me. I'll give you a space in the audience.
Fucking perfect.
It's basically, so the way that I see the playa, it's the biggest fucking R&D city in the world, where you can try anything that you want. You want to build a $5 million art car? Cool. You want to teach workshops about like radical self-reliance? Cool. You want to talk about Bitcoin? Whatever you want to do, man. Whatever sort of fucking 2-hour workshop that crazy, ludicrous mind that could come up with, there's at least 20 people in Black Rock City that will come whatever time that shit is. 100%.
Perfect. I dig it.
Ultimate R&D lab, dude. I'm going every year and I'm trying new shit every year for them.
Every year.
There's no waivers. There's no credit card swipers. It's just the wild fucking West, man. And people are willing, ready, and open as fuck. It's so much fun. There's things that I could do there that would take me 2 days to get a group of people ready for here in the regular world.
Right? You'd have to like really.
I'd need them one day, spend the night, and then I need them the next day to do half of the shit that I'm doing with these groups that I know
2 hours.
2 hours, man. So cool. So I think I think it would be an incredible space for you to play and learn and grow, but also experience what that fucking place is, because it's.
Well, I think that to experiences in those three contexts you said, to work and play and grow, one of those three, like that sounds really amazing. And I know, and I think the thing for me is that you planted the seed of it last year. You gave me a book and I read it, and then I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here.
A little different than
little mastermind, right? No, it's good. No, and I think it's one of the things too. And so McCara and I are talking about like going away. We're doing a couples retreat. We're giving the kids to somebody for like an overnight here next month. And it was just like the context. It's been like 4 years. We've been like at home with the kids for like 4 years.
You guys have been fucking parent of the year for 4 years.
Either, parents, or she's pregnant, or one of the two. And they got that's like such a hard from where it was. And so I sat down at the table. This is like while you were there. And I was like, hey, I want to go to Burning Man next year. And she's like, oh, okay. And I says, no, I want you to go with me. I said, I want us to go. And she's like, what about the kids? I says, by the time that's next year, Pippin will be 2, Charlie's going to be 4. And I says, we have been doing this parent thing for 5 straight years. We can do, like, grandma can watch kids for a week and a half or whatever it is. And so that's like the little, and then I think once we experience that and we get a good idea of what it's about for us, then we'll probably start bringing the girls with us. And, maybe even bring in Andrew, because he'll be 19.
Definitely.
So it's just,
100%.
So it's just something that I really want to do. And she's like, so the first thing you want to do without the girls? I was like, yeah, I want it to be crazy, And I don't even really know if that's the word to describe it.
In the world. There's no place.
Yeah. No place like it.
Leave Earth to find anything like it.
Yeah. So I'm really stoked about that. And that's like a hard non-negotiable for me for 2020. And that feels good to have.
Wow.
That feels good to have. That's actually the first time I'm stating it like that. Like it's a hard non-negotiable for 2020 for me. Of all the other things, like, all right, what's going on? Nope, just that one thing. And that's it. And so I think this is kind of like
so then I'm gonna put you on my list then as part of my camp next year.
Do it. Just put us both on there. And because there's stuff that McCare can teach too. She's
building
brilliant with moms and babies. And I think that that's something. So yeah, we'll have a discussion offline about that. But I think
she can just come.
yeah, I want to use that as like a teachable point. I want to, so it's like using 2020 like in the context of a single day, like waking up and being like, if I do one thing in 2020 that will make all other things irrelevant today, I feel like that's going to get to the burn with McCare, period. Like that would make all other things irrelevant. And obviously I'm not able to see a year from now without being there. Yet that's like the thing. And I think that we can do a lot like that when we wake up in the morning. Like, what's the one thing that we could do today that would make all other things irrelevant? And so in that context, it's like, okay, what can I do today to make that thing in 2020 a reality? And that's by telling Dustin that that's my intention for 2020, because he'll drag me there kicking and screaming now. So it's a good, yeah.
You know what my title is for my group, in my group?
Nope. Tell me.
I'm handler of intention.
Handler of intention. Perfect. Perfect.
You're gonna be snorting dust this time next year.
Yeah, man. That's good. It's funny because I think the weird questions that I have isn't even about like what the camps are or what the theme is. It's like, do I need to bring sunscreen? Like, what's the, and somebody's like, nope, you're too covered in dust to get burned. I was like, oh, that makes sense. So it's whatever. So right on, man. Tell me about relating naturally.
So I have to go back to Burning Man in order to do that.
Do it.
So Burning Man 2018, I had a very interesting encounter with a very special human. Nothing happened beyond meeting them. However, it was notably, I won't get into the constellations of the strangeness of it at all, because it's just too much. I'd have to write a book to do it. However, there was a lot of strangeness around it. And just before Burning Man, the connection that I had with this person, well, progressively for the months before Burning Man, this connection was building quite a bit. And we ended up being quite quite affectionate with each other by the time that we were there. And the way that we were able to, or the way that we are able still to relate with each other is something that I can't explain any other word than saying natural. And I have to go back to one of our very good friends, one of my favorite people on earth, Mr. Willinson, Darren Willinson. He about a year ago put this seed in my mind where he said, there's two ways to be. You can be normal or you can be natural. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And he's like, well, think about it. Like, what would be natural if, like, your spouse walked in and said something and it hella triggered you? What would be natural? Natural thing would be like, oh, the thing that you just said, I felt this. That might be natural. But what's normal would be like, what the fuck, or whatever version of normal might be. Triggered would be normal, right? And that this idea of what is normal versus what is natural has been on my mind ever since Darren gave that to me. And I've never really had an experience of it, but when I've been relating with this human that I'm talking about, it's been the most natural form of connection that I've ever experienced. And the way that you think of the cells in your arm is getting along, like the cells in your arm, if you just look down, you see the connections between those, the relationships that are going on between those cells. They're relating naturally with each other. I feel like that's what I'm doing with this person. And I've never, ever had that before, ever, in a romantic encounter. It's like being in a state of flow the entire time, even when we're really working with each other. And we've had a few conversations that were like sticky because, we've gone through a lot in the short time. I won't, again, get into the details because I'd have to write a novel. However, there's been very interesting constellations that weren't necessarily our responsibility. I'm not sure would be the right word. Been a massive amount of opportunities for us to connect and relate. And throughout all of it, it's been so much in a state of flow, and it's been so natural. And it's like, every way that I've ever related before, ever in my life, hasn't been like this. And so it's weird, almost 33 years old, to have a way of relating with another human that is so new. I mean, I've had 2-year relationships, 5-year-long relationships. You know, it's like, weird, really weird. And I think it's maybe me being finally into my own self, like maybe developing me to the point that I'm at. I don't know. Maybe I've never been capable of feeling my own self enough to dance with someone like this. You know, like maybe I was never in my own body enough to dance emotionally like this. I don't know. I don't have an idea, but I feel bad for anyone who is relating with another person who isn't doing it this way. And I feel like there's so much wasted energy and effort doing it any other way than the way that we're doing it. It's crazy. It's one of the most fascinating things I've ever experienced being Dustin Moon.
Something that I've been noticing in my experience of you over the last year is you've been clearing the table a lot, per se.
It's true.
And being very, very intentional with what you put back on it. And when you find yourself with something on it that you may have missed the intention before you set it down, you're like, whoa, you pick it back up and you check in with the intention. And when you find it, you either set it back down or you toss it. And I think that's a really powerful thing. And I know for me, the beginning of that, I don't know if it's an age thing or just like a coincidence thing, but for me, that happened around 34, 35, when I really found out like, oh shit. And because it's the same thing. That's how I feel with McCare. And it was like from the beginning was just different. And how many times in your life up until this point where you're like, this is totally different, bro, until it actually happens. And you're like,
whoa, like pull the fire alarm. What?
You're like, wait, like in it, it's like, you know, can freak you out a little bit.
It freaked me out. Dude.
Yeah, freaked me the fuck out. There's times in my
never been so triggered in my life. Like the visceral responses I would have of fear and insecurity, dude, like things I haven't felt since I was a little boy. And I'm like, whoa, I was so triggered at times, but I've definitely moved through that. But dude, I've been ethically non-monogamous for 6 years, bro. Like my ego is a little worn out by now. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah,
whoa. It's been beautiful, totally beautiful. And I feel like I've had breathing techniques that have helped me get through some of those like mammalian brain activations where it's just
Good for you, man.
Cool. I'm gonna respond instead of react.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you.
Good for the planet, man.
Yeah.
She makes me brighter.
Even more so.
Way that I never have been able to receive, I think, more than anything. I think I haven't been able to receive people enough to allow them to enhance me this much. Just her being part of my overall thinking, the contribution that her consciousness makes to my consciousness is big things are coming, bro.
Yeah. Always have been.
Always have been. Always are.
Always have been.
Constant state of becoming, man. And I'm loving what you're doing with Unscripted. I think it's beautiful. I think it's such a great idea, and I can't wait to see what airs from this iteration of creation.
Heck yeah, man. Just a little plug real quick before we move on to the next thing. My person for the 30th just canceled right before we came on. So if you want to come on here and talk, or maybe we have you back, I don't know.
The 30th?
Yeah, if you know anybody who wants to come on the 30th and freaking shoot the shit for an hour.
Bring a guest on the 30th.
Yeah, done. Sold.
I'm on there for sure. I'm bringing one guest.
Yeah, do it. Okay, cool. I'll freaking send you the invite as soon as we hop off. Nice, man. You got anything else? I'm feeling pretty stoked. It was nice to just listen today.
Yeah, I appreciate you holding on to that for me. It was nice. And thank you for the mirror that you hold it up at the end. You really have been. You've been with me for a long time, and you've seen a lot of versions of me. And thank you for being exactly what I needed you to be when you were that, because that whatever fucking I don't do the Myers-Briggs things. I think I can make that test say anything I want about me.
Yeah, it's stupid, but it's just like it's a container. That's all it is.
No, for me, it's like what day. That's how I feel.
Exactly, for sure. Mine's like what time of the day, what am I doing? And I think that's such a valuable thing too. And you can use that test exactly that. That's why I was like, all right, we're going to use a Myers-Briggs test just to like, so we can have a context to talk about. It's really like some people grab that, and I myself included. I remember the first time I took on it, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, this is me, you know? And it's like, there's like 4 different versions to me generally on any given day, depending on what time of the day is, who am I talking to, what kind of space am I holding? Am I holding space? Are they holding space? And I should take the test while space is being held for me, because I don't know what that one is, because I don't let it happen that often.
It's interesting.
And that's, yeah. And so this is a fun thing too, is that you and I went into this Monday night thing. I made a commitment at the beginning of the year to not take on coaching at all for the year of 2019. It was stupid. It was dumb. I found out like 6 weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, I need to fucking talk to somebody about this shit. And so it's just like, and so I hired somebody, and I was like,
dude, it's good that you fucking went.
Yeah.
How many months, dude? Because that like
seven and a half,
good, bro.
Yeah, 7.5. And then it was like, I got stuff to deal with too, and I think it's too important. And it was like, as soon as I
made it out of true choice, though, man, because you,
intentionally choosing it.
You were not making that out of true choice before. There was a tons of things that you were just doing. They weren't true choice.
Just doing.
That drought.
And this one was,
contrast, like you were like, okay, I'm gonna take a stand against my own bullshit.
Yeah.
But you need it. Like you got it on your own test.
For 8 months, I was just checking and see if I was full of shit. And so, found some places that I was and some places that I wasn't. And we addressed the places that were.
Sometimes you got to coach.
So that's all it is. No, it was good stuff. And it was I just did 3 or 4 weeks. That's all I did. And I was like, dude, stand up back on the other side and intentionally back out, And so since then, I've actually hired 2 people onto my team on first wake up. So I'm not doing all this bullshit by myself. And so that's really cool. Dude, it's some crazy stuff's happening over here, man. It's nuts from a year ago. And even more so from 4.5 years ago when this first started. So,
gotta wake up every day, baby.
Every day. Every day.
Fucking day.
Every day.
Love it. I love you, man.
I love you too, brother.
What you become.
Fuck yeah. I feel like right now in the moment, like an intellectually, like my brain, it's like you can feel this, the creative portions, just like the wheels are turning. And it's like, I feel like the countdown's like 10, 9, 8. It's like something's about to happen. Like I'm asking Coach, you're going to punch me in the face or something. Yeah, it feels really good. And I'm always stoked to have you on here. Cool, bro. I think that's it.
I'll see you on the 30th and I'll bring a guest.
Yeah, I'll put you in. I'll send you an invitation right now.
Great.
All right, bro. Love you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Ditto, brother.
Peace.
Later.